Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today in the Ask SSM video series, got an email from a subscriber. It's a young guy, he's 22 years old, he's from Mexico, and he's writing in because he needs some serious help with his father. His mom and dad are now getting divorced. His mom, as you're going to see in this story, is really an awful person, and you'll see more as I get into this. And his dad, although sounds like a good guy, his actions demonstrate that he's a very weak, worn-out guy. A guy that really needs material like mine. His son is RP'd and doing great for himself and is well on his path, but his dad needs help. And it's gotten to the point that his dad is just so worn down because of the divorce and all that, and how the mother's treating him, accusations, all that. He just really doesn't know what to do. And he wants my help as to how to handle the situation. And that'd be a very good one to go over here, guys, because I've done videos where guys have asked my help with their friends, their brothers, their blood brothers, cousins, you name it, but never a young guy asking for help with his father. Because obviously it's a very tough dynamic, because when you want to tell your dad he's acting like a bitch, well, you know, that's not exactly respectful to do that. So handling that situation is a tough thing. So he's asking my help here. So I'm going to go through the story here. You're going to hear a little bit about him in the beginning, then the situation with his mom and dad and all that. And then I'm going to share my 2 cents, and hopefully I can help this young guy out, because he's in a tough spot. He loves his dad, and he wants his dad to be all right, but his dad also has to help himself. So it starts off, he says here, hello SSM. I'm from Mexico, so I apologize if my English is broken, but I need your help. I am a 22-year-old software development student with a orientation towards becoming a video game developer, but overall I can make software in general. And I've been working my ass off to get my degree so I can move to the USA in the not-so-distant future. Well, good for you, bro. Keep working your ass off. That's what you're supposed to do when you're 22. Be on that grind. Make something of yourself. While everybody else is partying and screwing around, you work on your grind. You can do all the party and fun later on in life when you got a lot of money, and they're pinching pennies. With your help and some of the other YouTubers, I've set up a plan where I'll get out of college without any debt whatsoever and have some good job prospects, as well as staying away from relationships. Awesome. That's wonderful. Not to mention, I saved about $4,000 US, a non-trivial amount here in Mexico, and life is pretty good for me, and things are looking up. But let's just say the same doesn't apply to my father. Last December, my mother and father had a huge argument over something incredibly small. My mom was listening to a voicemail from my aunt, and my father, thinking it was my sister, who was studying abroad, approached her trying to listen to what she was saying. And as far as he could tell, it was his daughter. My mother took it horribly bad. She exploded and refused to listen to whatever my dad had to say, claiming it was a violation of her privacy. At some point, she even turned her back at my father and outright refused to even look at him. And when my dad had rightfully snapped at my mother, how she refused to look at him in the eye or listen, my mother packed up her stuff and stormed out of the house. She's now living at her mother's house, my grandmother's house. Well, guess what, Mom? Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. So, what I get from reading this the first time, and I know how this is going to go, it sounds like one of two things. Your mom is a big freaking drama queen with some serious anger issues. Or two, there are other underlying issues going on beneath the surface that caused her to explode over something that's not that big a deal. Or both. But you're going to see in a moment, guys, that his mom is not exactly a pleasant person. For a little context, my mother is one of the most thick-headed people I've ever met. Now we're getting somewhere. I don't remember ever hearing her say, I'm sorry, or you know what, you're right, ever while I was growing up. When she always thinks she's right, she is right. No matter what you say or do, not to mention that I've always felt her love was conditional to the grades I got in school. And she has an absolute obsession with, wait for it guys, money and wealth. It's not like I had a bad relationship with her beforehand, but it wasn't great either. So, she is a know-it-all personality. People like that are deeply insecure individuals. And thick-headed sounds like a real wonderful, loving mom. Now, imagine being married to someone like that. These people are incapable of love. They're usually narcissistic as all hell. And someone like that, what you're describing, sounds a lot like a bully. And remember, bullies, the only way to do with bullies is through strength. Now, you're going to see more about his dad here, guys, and Remember, I tell you all the time, women hate weakness. And when a man acts weak, a lot of them actually punish the guy by acting worse. And you're going to see it sounds like his dad is very worn down over the years and has just been worn down to nothing. And a bully, the only way you deal with a bully is with strength. Otherwise, they'll just keep doing what they do. Things went silent for a while with her. I refused to go to any of the holidays with her and stay with my dad throughout the time. Right now, I understand my father isn't all I have, and that I'm all my father has as well. The time has been excellent for improving our relationship. Okay, silver lining there. This January, however, things got a little worse when trying to make peace with my mother. My dad went to a coffee shop to try to talk to her and make peace. When my mother showed up with her lawyers, claiming she was scared he'd physically hurt her. Oh, for God's sake. Total BS, as he has never, he wrote that in giant letters, never laid hands on her and didn't at any point during the argument back in December. He might be a little harsh with his words every now and then, but I've never seen him be physically violent with anyone. If anything, what that meant to me is that she's usually the one that is angry and screaming about things that she really did not like. And when someone turned on her and did the same, and she wanted to formalize the divorce. English is not his first language, so there's a lot of run-on sentences here. Bear with me. So anyway, he tries to make up. She shows up with a freaking lawyer and accuses him of all these things. To me, this sounds like obviously someone that wants to get divorced. And by saying all these accusations, that will make things easier for her probably in the divorce process. That's what I'm getting out of this. So that's real nice, Mom. Thanks a lot for saying that to Dad. He's never done this to you. You know darn freaking well he's never done this. You are seeing, my friend, your mother's true colors. And that she wanted to formalize a divorce, although that hasn't really happened in a legal sense. Now, for my father, it hasn't been one bit easy. This has all affected him very deeply. He struggles to sleep at night, he struggled to eat properly during meals, and overall has been very psychologically affected by all this. And it really did not help that my grandmother, his mom, passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack last week. Sorry about your grandma, bro. It's been a very difficult time, but in the end, she was 96 and lived an outstanding life, and her living in this world for God was just a matter of time. And the time just so happened to be now. My father is in absolute shambles. He cries regularly and sometimes even asks me to sleep in my mother's spot in the bed so he can feel a little bit accompanied. I've kept some minor contact with my mom, though, through WhatsApp. She regularly texts me trivial things like, "Good morning, sweetheart. How have you been? How was your day?" But we haven't really talked about the issue at hand at any depth. Well, your dad's breaking down because he feels like his whole world's falling apart. His mom just died. The wife, even though she's obviously awful, he's worn down. That's all he knows. Probably feels like a failure. And now she's accusing him of all these things. I would tell your mom, "No, Mom, we're not going to talk. You and Dad, fine. Things are falling apart between you two. Okay, you're adults. But the fact that you're accusing him of all these things that you know damn well he's never done, don't fucking talk to me. You call off your attack dog lawyers. You call off these accusations right now, or we're going to have nothing to talk about." That's how I would handle it. Now, the most important part is my father's clearly hurt by all this. But his behavior started becoming something that hurts him more than anyone else. Not just the crying and the "can you sleep my mom's spot in the bed tonight?" Yesterday he called my mom, supposedly to ask her for some documents she probably took with her when she stormed out of the house. But instead of that, it became a tirade of, "You have to reconsider. Please come back. What are you going to do with your future?" He had repeatedly said through this that he wouldn't beg for her to come back, and yet this has happened. It felt horrible to see my dad so emasculated in doing that which he had explicitly said he wouldn't do. It's because your dad is fucking desperate. That's why. He's so worn down. And again, being married to her all those years, she wore his ass down. But I'm willing to bet you, bro, and I don't mean to be insulting towards you or your dad, but you came to me for my help, my direct, and my honesty. I'm going to be honest. Your dad was obviously a weak guy before he got together with her. And your mom was probably a bully and had her personality back then. And just got worse with time. The more he acted weak, the more she acted like an asshole. And round we went. And this is what you got. Your dad needs help. And I'm coming to that. My mother demanded through the phone that my father give her 3 months worth of college tuition and give her the rights to enter a sports club my father, for some reason I don't really understand, has the right to enter whenever he wants. Okay. When the call ended, I was almost angry at him. I didn't insult him, but I could use some pretty tough words, trying to give him the cold, hard truth that my mother is not going to come back. That she never apologized for or admitted to guilt before and anything throughout my entire life, not the smallest, most insignificant things. He says, imagine the bigger things then. And now my father is having an almost Disney princess dream that she'll come back with some flowers, drop them on the floor, and they'll run into each other's arms and say, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I told him he has to accept that my grandmother is gone and is not going to come back, and her mind is set on leaving both of us, and that's probably for the good. But he still clings onto this vain hope, and that's starting to hurt him more, and that's helping him. I obviously didn't call him any names or use any insults, but it really felt like he was a doormat for not using a stronger word that I would never call him. But I definitely thought of it at the time. Well, bro, if this was a friend of yours or a brother or a cousin, that'd be different. You could use some certain words that I know you were dying to say, even give him a good SSM smack. But this is your father, and you know he's a good man. He's just really worn down, so you gotta respect your dad. But I'll come to that in a second. I know you're almost done here. My question is, how do I help him? I already told him the cold, hard truth, but he refuses to accept it. You've helped me in the past with setting up my mindset and path forward that will turn me into a strong, successful male. But how do I do the same with my father? How do I help him move forward? Thank you for everything, SSM. If possible, please keep me anonymous. Nobody's going to know your information, brother. So, again, you're in a tough spot. This is your father. But your dad needs to know reality. Your dad needs to accept your grandma's gone. That your mom and dad, they're getting divorced. She's not coming back. And you know what? That's a good thing, because she sounds like a fucking bitch. Your mom's an a-hole. She is hard-headed, my way or the highway. Doesn't sound like she's capable of love at all. Total narcissist. Why would he want that? But the problem is, it's like Stockholm Syndrome. He's been so worn down with her, she's all he knows. Your dad's better off without her. The problem is that he's so worn down because of the grandmother's death and all these other things. Sadly, it should be the father who's strong for the son, but in your case, you got to be strong for the father. So I would sit him down and be direct as possible, as respectful as possible. Don't call him any names or anything like that, and tell him as direct as possible. Look him straight in the eye, Dad. Straight in the eye. And tell him these things again. And point him towards my work. He needs to watch my channel and understand where he's going wrong. Not just my channel, but other channels as well. And make it clear she ain't coming back, and she's an awful person. Look what she's done. And he might say, don't you talk about your mother that way. Well, you know what? You're a grown-ass man at 22. You can speak your mind. At least that's the culture we have here in the USA. You're coming to the USA, you can be a little more, direct with family. I know in certain cultures, you don't say certain things to your family, but you can say things about your mom to your dad. I'd also say this, with regards to your mom. If it were me, I'd make it clear to your mom. Say, Mom, you want to have a relationship with me? You're going to call off these attack dogs. You're going to call off the lawyers and these accusations that dad was abusive or any bullshit like that's bullshit. You backtrack on that and you give him a very smooth, amicable divorce. You do that, we can have a relationship. But if you're not going to do that, you're going to make it hard on him and be nasty to him and have these bullshit accusations, you're dead to me. I will have nothing to do with you. Your mom's a bully. And bullies only respond to strength. So unless you're willing to draw that line in the sand and not budge, which she'll test you, by the way, she's going to keep doing the same bullshit. And she'll be messing with your head too, just like your dad. That's how you can really also help your dad. By telling her to call off the attack dogs with these bullshit accusations, which she's probably using to help her have a better case of the divorce. And you cut ties with her. I don't know how divorces are in Mexico in the family courts, but my point is, I suspect she's using these accusations to help her. I said, Mom, you cut back those accusations as bullshit and you give him a smooth, quick divorce. End of story. You can do whatever you want. Your and Dad's business is your business. You obviously are not meant to be. Then maybe we can have a freaking conversation. And she'll test you on that. Guaranteed. She's going to test you to see if you're as strong as your word. And you can't budge unless she gives you what you want. Because why would you want that in your life? And then you can determine when you want to have her in your life. But she just sounds to me like this cold, heartless, narcissistic bitch. And nobody needs that. And I know it's your mom, but guess what? There are a lot of cold, narcissistic, mean mothers out there. And that sons and daughters need to cut loose. And then back to your dad. Do that for him. and then be there for him. But your dad needs to start moving on with his life. He needs to get out of bed and start moving and doing some stuff and rebuilding his happiness. But the sooner they get divorced, the sooner he can recover. It's like the Band-Aid. Right now that Band-Aid is being pulled off really slowly. And it's tearing hairs and skin. It fucking hurts. You need to rip that Band-Aid off, as in the divorce, and let him move on. And you make that abundantly clear. And you can be there for your dad. You can listen to him and help him. But if your dad starts having a meltdown and crying, be like, Dad, I'm trying to help you. But try, as hard as it may be, to not be disrespectful. Do not insult him. He's your old man. You got to have a little respect. And if he doesn't want to hear it, which he probably won't, you still try, and you back off. And if it means that he implodes more, at least you try. Because at the end of the day, you can't force him to see things how you see them. But you can certainly do your darndest to help him in every way possible, handling your mom, for her to call the attack dogs and give an amicable divorce, and a quick one. But where's your sister in all this? You didn't mention that. I don't know what your relationship is with your sister. I don't know what the relationship is with the sister and your dad. But if your sister has a good relationship with your dad, get her to help out too, to talk to him. But then again, remember, don't let your dad take advice from your sister about the mother. Remember, you don't take advice from women about women. So, but your parents are not going to work out. Your dad should not be with her. She's an awful person. Let her be somebody else's fucking problem. But help your dad do the best you can. So guys, for any of you guys out there that have fathers that definitely need help, you do what you can. You give them this advice that you've learned from my channel and your own experience. You maybe in some cases show them my channel, other channels. And be respectful, but tell them what they got to hear. Because remember, guys, we have a lot of stupid male pride. You all know this. And it'd be a lot for a father to know, to deep down know that he's got a, He's got a gap in his knowledge. That his son knows more about certain things than him. That's going to be hard for a father to accept because of our stupid male pride. So you're going to be fighting that, dude. Understand that, but just do your best. Say what you got to say. Be direct and as respectful as you possibly can be, even though you want to explode and call him a simp or something. Don't do that. And hopefully, you'll help him out. But you got to get him out of the house. That's another thing. Go out and do stuff. Whatever you like to do, go do with him. Get him out of the house. Get him moving. Get him walking. But wallowing and no, you're not going to sleep in the freaking bed next to him or anything like that. You'll listen to him. You'll help him. No, Dad, I'm not sleeping in the freaking bed. Stop the crying. You let it out. It's time to move on. Got to be a fucking man. You can say that if it gets really bad. So, I wish you the best. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think. Let him know some advice about how he can handle things with his old man. Any of you fathers out there watching this that definitely behaved in a way you're not proud of, give this young guy some advice on things that you would have wanted to hear or should have heard that would have helped you out if you were similar to the dad here. It will help him out. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.